The council room was huge. 47 different alien species filled the seats, their bodies strange and colorful under the bright lights. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like they were made of crystal or metal. They all talked and laughed as they waited for the meeting to start. Taeho Kim sat in the corner with Yuna Park. They were the only humans in the room. Taeho wore a dark suit and kept his face blank even though he wanted to frown. Yuna sat next to him with a tablet in her hands, taking notes of everything she saw. Ambassador Velcris walked to the center of the room. He was tall, with blue skin and 4 yellow eyes. His species, the Thalnari, were known across the galaxy as warriors and leaders. He smiled as he looked around the room. "Welcome, honored delegates," Velcris said. His voice was loud and clear. "Today we discuss the Human Restriction Protocol. This law has kept humans out of military service and combat roles for 100 years. I move to keep this ban in place." Several aliens nodded. Some made sounds that their translators turned into words of agreement. Velcris pressed a button and images appeared in the air above the center table. The images showed Earth from long ago. Old rockets launched into space with fire and smoke. Soldiers carried simple guns. Cities looked small and primitive. "Look at what they were when we found them," Velcris said. 200 years ago, humans barely knew how to leave their own planet. They used chemical fuel for rockets. They fought wars with metal bullets. They died from diseases we cured thousands of years ago. More laughter filled the room. Taeho's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. A delegate who looked like a giant insect clicked her mandibles. "Their technology improved with our help, but their bodies did not. They still need oxygen to breathe. They cannot survive in space without suits. Their bones break easily." "Exactly," Velcris continued. He pulled up more images. These showed human bodies with labels and notes. "The human lifespan is barely 100 of their years. They cannot regrow lost limbs. They cannot survive extreme temperatures. Radiation kills them quickly. Even a simple vacuum exposure means certain death." The crystalline delegate from Ruvath spoke next. Her body glowed with soft pink light. "We gave humans jobs in trade and administration. They work in our offices and shops. This is appropriate for their abilities. The ban protects them from dangers they cannot handle." More aliens voiced agreement. The vote was called. One by one, species raised their agreement to keep humans banned from military service. 45 votes said yes. Only 2 votes were blank. Those 2 votes belonged to Taeho and Yuna. The meeting ended. Aliens stood and talked among themselves as they left the room. Many of them glanced at the 2 humans and whispered to each other. Velcris gathered his papers, still smiling. Taeho stood and walked toward him. Yuna followed close behind. "Ambassador Velcris," Taeho said. His voice was calm and polite. "I would like to submit new evidence for the council to review." Velcris looked down at the human. Even though Taeho was tall for his species, the Thalnari was much taller. "Your people have asked us to reconsider 63 times in the last 100 years. Each time we said no. What makes you think today will be different?" "This evidence is different," Yuna said. She held up a small crystal device that glowed with stored data. "We have compiled footage from the Void Wars. Combat footage that shows the truth." Velcris laughed. The sound was deep and rumbling. "You want to show us videos of your ancient wars? When humans fought each other with primitive weapons. The Council has no interest in your past conflicts, no matter how proud you are of them." "Not our conflicts," Taeho said quietly. "Yours?" Velcris stopped laughing. His 4 eyes focused on Taeho. "What do you mean?" "We found records in your own archives," Yuna explained. "Records of battles and emergencies across the galaxy. Records that show humans were there. Records that show what we really did." "Impossible," Velcris said. "Humans are banned from combat zones. Any human in such areas would be violating Council law." "Then why do your military files list hundreds of human contractors?" Taeho asked. "Why do battle reports mention human advisors? Why do emergency logs show human ships responding to distress calls?" Velcris's skin changed to a darker blue. This was a sign of discomfort in his species. "Those records are classified." "How did you access them?" "We didn't break any laws," Yuna said. "These files were never properly secured. They were buried and forgotten. Your own people didn't think anyone would ever look for them." Taeho stepped closer. "We found 237 incidents over the last 200 years. Incidents where humans saved alien lives. Incidents where humans fought and died protecting your people. All of it hidden. All of it ignored." "I don't believe you." Velcris said, but his voice was less certain now. Then review the evidence, Una said, offering the data crystal. Watch the footage. Read the reports. See what humans really are. Velcris looked at the crystal but didn't take it. Even if such incidents occurred, they would be exceptions. Random acts by individuals. They would not represent your entire species. Every species is represented by individuals, Taeho said. You judge us by our weakest moment 200 years ago. We're asking you to judge us by what we've done since then. Around them, a few delegates had stopped to listen. The crystalline Ruvathi delegate approached slowly. What kind of incidents? She asked. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. Una turned to face her. Rescue operations. Defense actions. Emergency responses. Situations where humans were the only ones close enough to help. Situations where we helped anyway, even though it wasn't our job. Even though you were banned from such activities. The Ruvathi delegate said slowly. Even though we were banned. Taeho confirmed. Because when people are dying, humans don't stop to check if we have permission to save them. Velcris finally took the data crystal from Una's hand. He looked at it for a long moment. If this evidence is real, and if it is as significant as you claim, I will call an emergency session of the council. But if you are wasting our time, we're not, Taeho said firmly. Watch the footage. Learn what the galaxy has been hiding from itself. Learn what humans really are when people need us. Velcris nodded slowly. I will review this tonight. If it warrants further discussion, I will send word tomorrow. He walked away, holding the crystal carefully. Other delegates followed him, curious about what the humans had brought. Taeho and Una stood alone in the empty council room. Do you think he'll actually watch it? Una asked quietly. He'll watch it, Taeho said. He's arrogant, but he's not stupid. Curiosity will make him look, and then he'll see. They'll all see. Taeho looked around the empty room where aliens had laughed at humanity for 100 years. They'll see what we've been all along. They'll see what they refuse to acknowledge. Una nodded, and they won't be laughing anymore. They left the council room together, walking through corridors filled with aliens who saw them as weak and fragile. But Taeho and Una knew the truth. Soon everyone else would know it too. The footage would show them. The evidence would speak. And the galaxy would have to face what it had ignored for so long. Humans were not the weakest species. They never had been. The human ship Sejong floated in space near the council station. Inside, Una worked in the archive room. Screens glowed blue and white around her, showing files and documents. She had been working for 6 hours without stopping. June Park sat across from her. He was the ship's intelligence officer, a quiet man with sharp eyes. His fingers moved quickly across his own screens, searching through old records that most people had forgotten existed. Found another one, June said. He sounded tired but excited. Kepler Sector, year 2701. A Thalnari survey ship was attacked by pirates. Una looked up. What happened? The Thalnari sent distress signals to the nearest council warships. The warships were 47 hours away. June pulled up a file with numbers and dates. The pirates destroyed the Thalnari ship in 6 hours, but? Una asked. She knew there had to be more to the story, but a human cargo ship was in that system. The captain was a woman named Hanako. She heard the distress call. June opened a video file. The image was old and grainy, but it was clear enough to see. She wasn't military, just a merchant with a crew of 8 people. The video showed a beaten-up cargo ship. It looked like it had been flying for many years. Paint was chipped on the hull. One of the engine panels was a different color, like it had been replaced with whatever parts they could find. She flew toward the pirates? Una asked. She did, June confirmed. 5 pirate warships. Each one was 3 times bigger than her cargo ship. Una leaned forward to watch the screen. Show me what happened. The video played. The cargo ship accelerated toward the pirate fleet. As it got closer, something strange happened. The cargo ship released its cargo containers. Large metal boxes floated in space. Then the ship fired its engines in a sharp turn that should have torn it apart. The cargo containers, pushed by the ship's movement, flew toward the pirate vessels like missiles. They crashed into 2 of the pirate ships, damaging their hulls. The cargo ship kept moving. Bright beams shot from its sides. These were mining lasers, tools meant for cutting rocks. Hanako was using them as weapons. The lasers weren't very powerful, but she aimed them at the engines of the pirate ships. For 17 minutes, Hanako and her crew fought 5 warships with nothing but mining equipment and cargo containers. When it was over, 4 pirate ships were disabled. The 5th ship ran away. The Thalnari survivors were rescued 11 hours later by more human cargo ships. "Where's the official report?" Yuna asked. June pulled it up. The council listed it as equipment malfunction. They said the pirate ships had engine problems. No mention of Hanako. No mention that humans saved Thalnari lives. Yuna felt anger rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. How many incidents like this? June pulled up a list. It scrolled down his screen for several seconds. 237 documented cases, humans saving alien lives, all buried in the archives, all forgotten or explained away. The door opened. Taiho walked in. He had changed from his diplomatic suit into casual clothes. "Tell me you found something good." "Better than good," June said. He pulled up a new file. This one was marked with the highest security level. The Ruvathi-Krell War, year 2763. Taiho sat down. "The council says that war never reached the Ruvathi home systems. They say the Ruvathi won because of their superior strategy." "That's a lie," June said flatly. He opened deployment records. "The Krell were winning. They broke through the Ruvathi outer defenses and were advancing on the Ruvathi homeworld. The Ruvathi were desperate. The files showed lists of personnel. Mixed in with Ruvathi names were human names, 372 of them. They hired us." Yuna couldn't believe it. "Secretly," Taiho said. "I found the payment records hidden in trade documents. The Ruvathi paid human contractors to help them. They called us technical advisors and logistics coordinators. They never said we were military." June played combat footage. The videos showed space battles from the war. Tactical displays appeared, showing ship movements and strategies. The patterns were complex and fast. "These strategies are too fast for Ruvathi thinking patterns," June explained. "Ruvathi crystalline minds are good at long-term planning, but they're slow to adapt in real-time combat. These patterns show human tactical thinking, quick decisions, rapid changes, aggressive maneuvers." Battle after battle, the same pattern appeared. Situations that looked like certain defeats suddenly turned into narrow victories. Enemy fleets that should have won found themselves confused and outmaneuvered. "The Ruvathi won that war," Yuna said slowly. "For 80 years they've bragged about their superior minds. They've used that victory to claim they're one of the best military species in the galaxy. It was humans." Taiho finished. 372 humans saved the Ruvathi species, and the Ruvathi vote every year to keep us banned from military service. The 3 of them sat in silence. The screens around them glowed with evidence of human heroism that the galaxy had chosen to forget. Yuna opened another file. "Look at this one. Frontier Station Delta 9, year 2718. Station life support failed. 2,000 aliens trapped inside with only 6 hours of air left." The file showed a human repair ship in the area. The captain was a man named Quan Li. He had a crew of 15. The station's automated system said repair would take 10 hours minimum, Yuna read. The council evacuation ships were 12 hours away. Everyone on that station was going to die. "What did Quan Li do?" Taiho asked, though he already knew the answer would be something brave and dangerous. He and his crew put on spacesuits and went outside. They used repair tools to manually override the station's systems. 3 of them died when they were exposed to coolant leaks, but they fixed the life support in 4 hours. They saved 2,000 lives. June pulled up the official report. The council report says the station systems automatically fixed themselves. No mention of Quan Li or his crew. The 3 humans who died were listed as industrial accidents. More files appeared on the screens. Each one showed the same pattern. Humans responding to emergencies. Humans fighting to protect aliens. Humans dying to save people who considered them weak and useless. "Here's one from just 5 years ago," June said. "A Thalnari colony ship with engine failure. Falling into a black hole. Human mining crew of 12 people towed them out." "Did they all survive?" Yuna asked. 5 humans died from gravitational stress. All 6,000 Thalnari survived. June's voice was quiet. "Official report says the colony ship's emergency systems engaged automatically." Taiho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars shined in the darkness of space. "For 200 years we've done this. Every time someone needs help, humans are there. And every time the galaxy buries the evidence and pretends we're too weak to matter." "Why?" Yuna asked. "Why hide it? Why not just admit that humans helped?" Pride, Tejo said. How can the Thalnari claim to be the galaxy's best warriors if weak humans keep saving them? How can the Ruvathi boast about their crystalline intelligence if human tactics won their war? How can any of them justify keeping us banned if they admit we're the ones doing the saving? June pulled up one more file. Then there's this. I don't have much information on it yet. Just a reference code and a date. Year 2779, something called the Kelros incident. What happened at Kelros? Una asked. I don't know yet. The file is heavily encrypted. But it's marked as critical security level. Whatever happened there, the council really doesn't want anyone to know about it. Taiho turned from the window. Can you break the encryption? Given time, yes, June said. Maybe a few days. Work on it, Taiho ordered. If the council buried it that deep, it must be important. Get me everything you can find on Kelros. Una organized the files they had collected. We have enough evidence already. 237 incidents. Thousands of alien lives saved. Hundreds of human deaths that were never acknowledged. We need more, Taiho said. We need something that the council cannot ignore. Something so big and so clear that they cannot explain it away or bury it. The Kelros incident might be that something, June suggested. Then that's what we'll show them, Taiho decided. Compile everything. Every incident. Every buried report. Every time humans saved lives while the galaxy looked the other way. When we present this to the council, I want them to see all of it. They worked through the night. Files appeared and were organized. Evidence was checked and double-checked. The story of 200 years of human heroism slowly came together. As dawn approached on the station outside their ship, Taiho looked at the final compilation. Hundreds of incidents, thousands of lives saved, a pattern so clear that only willful blindness could have missed it. They're not going to like this, Una said. No, Taiho agreed. They're not. But they need to see it. The galaxy needs to know the truth. The emergency council session was called for the following week. Delegates arrived at the station looking annoyed. Many of them had traveled far from their homeworlds. They expected another pointless human appeal that would be quickly rejected. The council room filled slowly. Delegates talked among themselves, complaining about being summoned on short notice. Velkris arrived last. He walked to his seat with a strange expression on his face. He had watched the footage Taiho gave him. He had seen things that troubled him. Taiho stood at the central platform. Una stood beside him with a large data system. The amount of information loaded into their display made several delegates notice. This was not going to be a short presentation. Honored delegates, Taiho began. His voice was calm and clear. For 200 years, humanity has accepted its place in the council. We work in trade and administration. We accept that our biology makes us weak. We accept the ban that keeps us from military service. Several aliens nodded. This was what they expected to hear. Today, Taiho continued, we will show you the truth you have been hiding from yourselves. The lights in the room dimmed. The central display activated. A star system appeared in the hologram, rotating slowly. Frontier Incident 147, Una announced. Year 2698. A Thalnari colony ship carrying 6,000 civilians suffered engine failure near a black hole. The display showed the colony ship. Its engines were dark and dead. Gravity was pulling it slowly toward destruction. The image showed council rescue ships, but they were marked as being 3 days away. A human mining crew of 12 was in that system, Una said. The display showed a tiny mining ship. It looked old and worn. They had no training for rescue operations. Their ship was built for cutting rocks, not towing massive vessels. The delegates watched as the human mining ship moved toward the dying colony ship. It looked impossibly small next to the huge colony vessel. The video showed what happened next. The human crew attached magnetic cables to the colony ship. They fired their engines at full power, trying to pull the colony ship away from the black hole's gravity. This should have been impossible, Una explained. The gravitational forces should have torn their ship apart. But they kept trying. The footage showed the mining ship's hull bending and cracking under the stress. Inside, through the ship's cameras, human crew members could be seen screaming in pain as the gravity crushed them. 5 of the 12 humans died, Una said quietly. Their bodies could not survive the gravitational pressure. But the other 7 did not give up. They pulled the colony ship to safety. All 6,000 Thalnari survived. The room was very quiet now. No one was complaining about being summoned anymore. This is one incident, Taiho said. We have 236 more. For the next 3 hours, the presentation continued. Incident after incident played on the display. Humans fighting pirates with mining tools. Humans flying broken ships manually when computers failed. Humans walking into radiation zones without protection to save trapped alien workers. Humans evacuating stations when automated systems said there was not enough time. Every incident had been filed away and forgotten. Every act of heroism had been buried. The delegates sat in growing silence. Some of them recognized incidents from their own worlds. Events they had been told were accidents or automatic system responses were actually humans risking and losing their lives. Now, Taiho said as the frontier incidents ended, we will discuss military operations. Velcris stood up quickly. Humans are banned from military service. Any human in combat zones would be breaking council law. Banned from official military service, Yuna corrected. But not banned from being hired as civilian contractors, technical advisors, or logistics coordinators. The Ruvathi delegate's crystalline body flashed with uncomfortable colors. The display changed to show battle records. Space combat from various wars across the galaxy. Tactical information filled the screens. The Ruvathi Krell War, Taiho announced. Year 2763. The Ruvathi were losing. The Ruvathi delegate started to speak, but no words came out. The Krell had broken through your defenses, Taiho continued. They were advancing on your homeworld. Your crystalline minds are excellent for long-term planning, but too slow for real-time combat decisions. You were going to lose. The display showed deployment records, 372 human names mixed with Ruvathi forces. You hired humans as advisors, Yuna said. Within 8 months, you had reversed the Krell advance and won the war. The galaxy believes the Ruvathi have superior strategic minds. The truth is you were saved by the species you consider too weak for combat. This information is classified, the Ruvathi delegate protested. Her voice sounded like breaking glass. You have no right to access our military records. We pulled it from your own archives, Yuna replied coldly. Records you kept while voting every year to maintain the ban on humans. The council chamber erupted into noise. Delegates argued with each other. Species accused each other of secretly using humans. Some demanded to know why their own records had been changed or hidden. Taiho let them argue. He waited patiently for the noise to die down. When the room was finally quiet again, he activated one more file. The entire chamber went silent. This, Taiho said quietly, is what we really came here to show you. A star system appeared on the display. 2 planets orbited a yellow star. Ships moved between the planets in orderly patterns. It looked peaceful and normal. The Kelros system, Yuna explained. Year 2779. Home to 3 million Thalnari, 2 million Ruvathi, and 500,000 members of other species. A successful trade hub. The display continued to show the peaceful system. Then this happened. Space tore open at the edge of the system. Something emerged that made several delegates gasp. A ship appeared that was bigger than anything in council records. Its hull was black and seemed to absorb all light around it. First contact with the Vexilor, Taiho said. A species from beyond council space. They did not come in peace. The alien vessel opened fire. Energy weapons of unknown design cut through the orbital stations. Explosions bloomed across the display in terrible silence. The Kelros defense fleet responded, Yuna narrated. 37 council warships moved to engage the intruder. The warships looked powerful and modern. They represented the best military technology the council had. They attacked the Vexilor vessel with everything they had. It was not enough. The delegates watched in horror as the defense fleet died. One by one, the warships were destroyed. The Vexilor vessel moved through them easily. Its weapons turned advanced ships into debris and dust. The battle lasted 40 minutes, Taiho said. All 37 warships were destroyed. The Vexilor vessel entered orbit around the main colony world. Intelligence suggested they were preparing a weapon to kill everyone on the planet. The display showed the alien ship hovering over the planet. Something was building up inside it, glowing brighter and brighter. A council emergency fleet was sent. Yuna continued. Estimated arrival time was 6 days. The Vexilor weapon would fire in hours. 3 million people were about to die. Delegates leaned forward in their seats. None of them had heard of this incident before. However, Taiho said, and his voice was very quiet now, there were 4 human cargo ships in the system. The display zoomed in on 4 unremarkable ships. They were old freighters, the kind used to haul goods between stations. They looked small and weak next to the massive Vexilor vessel. These were civilian ships with civilian crews, Una explained. Total combined crew was 53 humans. They were at a fuel depot preparing to leave the system. A communication recording played. A man's voice spoke calmly in English. Subtitles appeared for the aliens to read. "This is Captain Minho Cha. That alien ship just killed 37 fleet vessels and is about to kill 3 million people. Council fleet is 6 days away. We are the only ones here." There was a pause in the recording. "I am going in. You do not have to follow." 3 other voices responded immediately. All 3 said the same thing. "We are with you." The display showed the 4 freighters changing course. They accelerated toward the massive alien vessel. Velcris whispered, "This is insane. Civilian cargo ships against a vessel that destroyed an entire fleet." "Yes," Taiho agreed. "It was insane. But they went anyway." The delegates stared at the display, watching 4 small human ships fly toward certain death. No one in the chamber made a sound. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. The presentation was not over. The most important part was still to come. The council chamber was completely silent. Every delegate watched the display showing 4 human cargo ships flying toward the massive alien vessel. The ships looked like insects flying toward a giant predator. The 4 freighters separated into a diamond formation. They approached the Vexilor from different angles. The alien ship's weapons tracked them, glowing with deadly energy. A bright beam of light shot from the Vexilor. It hit the lead freighter directly. The ship's cargo section exploded in flames and debris. Several delegates gasped. They expected the ship to be completely destroyed, but the ship kept flying. Captain Minho Cha released his damaged cargo sections and continued his approach, Una explained. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. He was flying on emergency power and backup thrusters. His ship was falling apart around him, but he did not turn back. The second freighter opened fire. Mining lasers, meant for cutting rocks, struck the alien vessel's hull. The lasers were weak compared to military weapons, but the captain aimed them at the same spot over and over, trying to burn through. The Vexilor's weapons found the second ship. An energy beam cut through it like a knife. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. 17 humans dead, Taiho said quietly. The room remained silent. Delegates who had laughed at the human ban now watched with wide eyes as humans died on the screen. The third and fourth freighters continued forward. One of them opened its cargo bay. Construction materials floated out. The ship used magnetic accelerators to launch heavy metal beams at the alien vessel like primitive spears. The beams struck the Vexilor's hull, but did no real damage. The alien ship's armor was too strong. Captain Sorabek commanded the third vessel, Taiho said. She was a merchant who had spent 30 years hauling building materials across the frontier. She had a husband and 2 children waiting for her on Earth. The display showed her ship accelerating. The engines burned brighter and brighter, pushing beyond safe limits. She realized their weapons could not hurt the alien ship. Una continued. So she decided to become a weapon herself. The freighter's engine screamed as it flew faster and faster. The hull began to glow red from the stress and heat. Inside the ship, alarms would have been ringing. The computers would have been warning that the ship was about to tear itself apart. Captain Bayek did not slow down. The freighter crashed into the Vexilor's weapon array at incredible speed. The collision created an explosion so bright that the recording cameras temporarily went dark. When the image returned, both ships were gone. Only debris remained, spinning slowly in space. 21 more humans dead, Taiho said, including Captain Sorabek, who will never see her family again. Some delegates looked away from the display. Others sat frozen, unable to move. Only one human ship remained now. The fourth freighter, damaged and smoking, still flew toward the Vexilor. The alien vessel had survived the collision, though its weapon array was destroyed. But it still had other weapons. It still had its main reactor, and it was still charging something inside its hull. Something that would kill everyone on the planet below. A communication recording played. The voice belonged to Captain Jiho Han. Kelro Stations, this is Freighter Unity. If anyone is listening, tell Earth we tried. The freighter's engines suddenly burned brighter than they ever should. The light was almost white, impossibly intense. Captain Jiho Han shut down every system on his ship except the engines and life support, Taiho explained. His voice was very quiet now. He redirected all power to the drive. He disabled all the safety systems. He pushed the reactor beyond any safe limit. The display showed the freighter accelerating to speeds that should have been impossible for such a ship. The hull glowed white-hot. Parts of it were beginning to melt from the heat and stress. He aimed for the Vexilor's main reactor, Una said. The delegates watched as the freighter became a spear of light, flying faster and faster. Captain Han's ship was destroying itself, but it kept accelerating. The impact happened at 37% the speed of light. The explosion was like a small sun being born. Light filled the entire display. The recording equipment on nearby stations was overloaded by the brightness. For several seconds, nothing could be seen except pure white light. When the light finally faded, both ships were gone. The Vexilor vessel had been completely destroyed. So had the human freighter. Nothing remained of either except scattered atoms spreading through space. 15 more humans dead, Taiho said, including Captain Jiho Han, age 43, who had a daughter graduating from university that month. The council chamber remained silent for a long time. On the display, the planet below slowly rotated, peaceful and intact. 3 million aliens alive because 53 humans had died. 53 civilian humans in cargo vessels fought and died to save 3 million aliens, Taiho said. They had no military training. They had no proper weapons. They had no chance of survival. He looked around the chamber at the alien faces. They went anyway. Una activated another part of the display. The council classified this entire incident. The Vexilor attack was recorded as an unexplained weapons test malfunction on a council vessel. The human deaths were listed as accidents during cargo operations. She paused and looked at each delegate. The families of these 53 humans received standard commercial death benefits. No medals, no recognition, no acknowledgement that they saved 3 million lives. The Ruvati delegate's crystalline form had dimmed to almost nothing. Velcris had covered his eyes with his hands. Around the chamber, delegates sat in shock. You banned us from military service because you decided we were too weak, too fragile, too emotional, Taiho continued. But when death came to your people, who answered? When your fleets failed, who fought? When there was no hope, who refused to give up? He gestured to the display, which now showed pictures of the 53 dead humans. Men and women of different ages. All of them smiling in the photos taken before they knew they would become heroes. We did. Every single time. Without recognition. Without thanks. Without reward. Taiho's voice grew harder. You kept us banned because admitting the truth would be embarrassing. How can the mighty Thalnari claim to be the galaxy's greatest warriors if weak humans keep saving them? How can the brilliant Ruvathi boast about their superior minds if human tactics won their wars? How can any of you justify treating us as inferior when we are the ones who run toward danger while you run away? He stepped forward and his voice filled the chamber. For 200 years you have built your civilizations on our sacrifice. You have taken credit for our victories. You have hidden our heroism because acknowledging it would force you to admit you were wrong about us. Taiho pointed at the display showing the 53 faces. These humans did not die for glory. They did not die for recognition. They died because when people need help, humans do not ask if it is our job. We do not calculate the odds. We do not wait for permission. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but everyone heard every word. We act, because that is what humans do. The chamber remained silent. No delegate spoke. No one moved. On the display, the 53 faces of the Kelros heroes looked out at the council that had forgotten them. Young and old, men and women, all of them human, all of them dead. All of them heroes that the galaxy had tried to erase. Una spoke one more time. Captain Minhocha, Captain Sora Bayek, Captain Jiho Han, and 50 other humans whose names you never learned. They saved your people. They died for aliens who considered them weak. They gave everything for a galaxy that gave them nothing in return. She looked at Velcris directly. And you laughed at us. You voted to keep us banned. You buried the evidence of what we really are. Taiho stepped back from the podium. The evidence is now public. Every delegate has received a complete copy. You cannot hide it anymore. You cannot pretend it did not happen. The galaxy will know the truth. He and Una turned and walked toward the chamber exit. Behind them, the council sat in stunned silence, staring at the faces of heroes they had tried to forget. 2 days passed before the council met again. During those 2 days, every delegate reviewed the complete evidence that Taiho and Una had compiled. They watched hundreds of hours of footage. They read through thousands of incident reports. They saw the truth they had ignored for 2 centuries. The council chamber felt different when they gathered again. The usual political games and proud posturing were gone. Instead, there was a heavy feeling in the air. Guilt, shame, recognition of a terrible mistake. Ambassador Velkris stood first. The tall Thalnari who had led the vote to maintain the ban now looked smaller somehow. His 4 eyes were dim and his skin had lost its bright blue color. "I have reviewed the evidence," he began. His voice was quiet and serious. 147 incidents specifically involved the saving of Thalnari lives. Incidents my government knew about. Incidents we deliberately hid from public record. He turned to face Taiho and Yuna, who sat in their usual corner. Ambassador Kim, Representative Park, I owe your species an apology that words cannot properly express. The Thalnari Empire has built its reputation on the sacrifice of your people. We have taken credit for victories won by human courage. We have accepted praise for heroism that was not ours. Velkris reached into his jacket and pulled out a small medal. It gleamed under the chamber lights. In my office, I have worn this commendation for 30 years. I received it for strategic excellence during the frontier wars. The strategies I was praised for were actually designed by a human advisor named Junho Lee. His contribution was classified. His name was never mentioned. The Thalnari ambassador's voice shook slightly. I wore this medal proudly, believing I had earned it. Today I am formally requesting it be given to Junho Lee's family, where it truly belongs. He sat down. The chamber remained quiet for a moment. The Ruvathi delegate rose next. Her crystalline body pulsed with colors that meant deep shame in her species' language. The Ruvathi collective must acknowledge a truth that brings us great dishonor, she said. Her voice sounded like sad music. Our survival as a species is owed to human intervention. Not once, but 7 separate times across our history. She activated a display showing each incident, battles won by human tactics, plagues cured by human medicine, disasters prevented by human courage. We have stolen credit for human heroism. We have taken glory that belonged to others. We have voted to restrict the very beings who saved us from extinction. The Ruvathi delegate turned to address all the other aliens. Today, I propose more than simply lifting the human restriction protocol. I propose that the Galactic Council formally acknowledge what has become undeniable. Humanity is not the weakest species in our alliance. They may be the strongest. Murmurs spread through the chamber, but no one disagreed. A small delegate from the Karathi species stood up. The Karathi looked like large insects with delicate wings. They were not a military species and rarely spoke in council meetings. I wish to add testimony, the Karathi delegate said. Her voice was soft but clear. 3 years ago, a plague struck our homeworld. Our medical science could not stop it. We faced total extinction of our species. She showed a picture of a human woman in a medical suit. This is Dr. Yan Park. She was a human doctor working in a nearby system. When she heard of our plague, she traveled to our world. She knew the plague was lethal to humans. She came anyway. The Karathi delegate's wings trembled with emotion. Dr. Park worked for 73 days without rest. She wore protective equipment constantly. She studied our biology and the plague. She developed a cure that saved our entire species. The delegate paused and her voice became very quiet. Dr. Park died 2 days after completing her work. The plague had changed and gotten through her protective suit. She knew she was dying. She kept working until the cure was finished. She saved us and it killed her. More delegates began to stand. One by one, species rose to share their own stories. Tales of human courage, tales of human sacrifice, tales of humans helping aliens who had shown them no respect or gratitude. A delegate whose species looked like living metal spoke of human engineers who had died repairing their city's failing power grid. A delegate covered in scales told of human pilots who had crashed their ships to stop a meteor from hitting a colony. Another delegate, this one made of something like living fire, described human firefighters who had entered a burning station to rescue alien children. The pattern was clear and undeniable. For 200 years, humans had been the galaxy's secret protectors. They had saved lives without asking for anything in return. They had died for people who considered them weak and useless. Finally, the council chair called for order. The chair was an ancient being from a species that had helped found the council thousands of years ago. The matter before us is clear, the chair announced. Her voice was old and tired. The human restriction protocol was based on a fundamental misunderstanding. We measured strength by biology. We measured worth by physical advantages. We failed to measure courage. We failed to measure determination. We failed to measure the willingness to sacrifice oneself for others. The chair looked directly at Taiho and Yuna. We failed to measure what makes a species truly strong. She activated the voting system. The question before the council is this: shall the human restriction protocol be permanently dissolved? Shall humanity be granted full and unrestricted participation in all council operations, including military service? The votes appeared rapidly on the display. One after another, species that had voted for restriction now voted for freedom. The count climbed higher and higher. 40 votes in favor, 42, 45. The final number appeared on the screen. 47 votes in favor, 0 votes against. The ban was lifted, unanimously. The chamber erupted in applause. Many species had adopted this human custom for important moments. The sound was deafening, echoing off the walls, but Taiho and Yuna remained seated. They did not celebrate. They did not smile. Velcris noticed this. He walked over to where they sat. "You are not celebrating," he observed. "Your people have won. The ban is lifted. Why are you not happy?" Taiho looked up at the tall alien. In the human's eyes, Velcris saw something that made him uncomfortable. It was not anger exactly. It was something sadder and deeper. 53 humans died at Kelros, Taiho said quietly. Hundreds more died in the other 237 incidents. They died protecting your people. They died without recognition. They died believing the galaxy considered them worthless. He stood up, facing Velcris directly. "We did not do any of this for your approval. We did it because it was the right thing to do. Because people needed help. Because watching others die while we do nothing is not something humans can accept." Yuna stood beside him. "This vote today does not change who we are. We were never weak. We were never inadequate. We were never inferior." She looked around at all the celebrating aliens. We were only human, and that was always enough. The two humans walked toward the chamber exit. The applause continued around them, but they did not stop or look back. Velcris watched them leave. Then he looked at the display that still showed the faces of the 53 Kelros heroes. Young and old, men and women, all of them smiling in photos taken before they became heroes. They laughed at the ban on humans, he whispered to himself, until the footage revealed the truth. But there was a deeper truth that he was only now beginning to understand. The galaxy had not just been wrong about human weakness. They had been wrong about what strength really meant. The Thalnari had powerful bodies that could regenerate from terrible injuries. The Ruvati had brilliant crystalline minds. Other species had natural armor or lived for thousands of years, or could survive in space without protection. But none of them had what humans had. None of them would fly a broken cargo ship against impossible odds to save strangers. None of them would walk into radiation to rescue aliens they had never met. None of them would sacrifice everything for people who gave them nothing in return. That was human strength, not biology, not technology. The simple choice to help others, even when it cost everything. Velcris quietly left the celebrating chamber. He had messages to send, families to contact, decades of lies to correct. The human ship Sejong prepared to leave the station. On the bridge, Taiho and Yuna stood looking out at the stars. "We won," Yuna said, but her voice held no victory. "We showed them what they should have seen 200 years ago," Taiho replied. "But the real work begins now. Every human in council service will have to prove themselves over and over. They will be watching us constantly. Like we have been doing all along," Yuna said. "Like we have been doing all along," Taiho agreed. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, heading home to Earth with news of their victory. Behind them, in the ship's database, June had quietly added a memorial, a list of every human who had died saving alien lives over the past 2 centuries. The list was long, very long, but every name on it belonged to someone who had made a choice. When help was needed, they answered. When people were in danger, they acted. When death was certain, they went anyway, because that was what humans did. The galaxy had laughed at the ban on humans. The footage had revealed the truth. But the humans who had always known their worth simply continued forward, ready to answer the next call for help.